I'm just your friendly neighbor. No superhero. Oh, great, you call me.
Oh, jeez. Alright, first things first. New Spider-Man movie coming from Tom Holland. How does it stack up as a sequel? So this all started from when I was a little disappointed at the end of No Way Home, since it just had one of the worst endings I found for a Marvel movie, and it just dropped my jaw hard. So it just made me think that this needed to get a fourth movie. Wait, this is the fourth movie? That means it's a cursed sequel. Now don't worry, cursed 4 movies usually just happen in the animation industry. I promise a lot of live action movies actually have really good number 4 movies. And this one did not disappoint. You hear me, Sony? Don't give Spider-Verse a 4th movie unless you fuck up that 3rd movie. You hear me, Sony? Take the right direction at your own risk. If you know me right from the start of my channel back in March, you will know that my very first full video was based on the trailer of Spider-Man Brand New Day, and this movie did beat my expectations on this, and actually fixed a little bit of the problems I did have with the trailers actually. And the best part, the ending struck the landing. So just before the movie was about to begin, I saw this little video of Tom Holland mentioning that we were going to get a lot of action, surprises, and emotional stakes. And that just got me even more excited for the film in case I was going to be in for a little nasty Spider-Man movie, and nope, it was an absolute treat of heaven. And then when I saw the opening logos of the movie, all the way to the opening scene, I was all like, ah yes, this is going to be different, it's going to do fresh things compared to what the last few 3 movies have done, and pretty much all the other Spider-Man movies, because this opened up right after the end of No Way Home. Don't know why they didn't call this one Some Way Home. It gave us a little montage on how Peter Parker is getting used to his new life in New York when everyone's forgotten about him, and re-engaging to remember what Spider-Man even was in the first place. And that was executed and directed very well. And I really like how this was a true focus on him in this movie, despite him being the main character in every single one of his movies. And it didn't even feel like his character was being ruined, because usually one complaint we always get about 4 movies is a ruined character development. No, this is the best performance I've seen Tom Holland in pretty much anything. I don't know, it's just because that superhero movies, it's pretty hard to break that trend actually. You can't really do that in superhero movies. So yeah, that's probably why you could just do a lot more with his character. And when it comes to mutations, this absolutely delivered what I was having a big problem with Spider-Man since my entire life. Because I always had a problem that when I first knew the hero, I always thought he delivered on the superhero element, but not the spider element. I just don't see him as a Spider-Man, just more like a whip man. Because he doesn't use his wall climbing powers that much. But throughout this movie, he was absolutely mutating like a real spider, and like, it felt like spider puberty. Even though he's fully mature in this, it's not human puberty, it's like spider puberty. Because it really also focuses on how he loses strength on how to use his powers, and tries to relearn them as he goes on. And I thought when he was mutating, what really made it stay true to the character himself was when he was also showing his emotional state, and how he had to really try and re-engage with Ned and MJ, while also handling Jean Grey's side of the story. But that's what made it feel so on par in terms of quality with the other 3. However, the problem with that is that the emotion only delivered in terms of the dialogue. I will say the acting just didn't really hit for me, really. I mean, for example, you get this scene that I was kind of surprised about. You see Peter Parker being surprised about MJ being with someone else. Yeah, what have you done? It looks like you're just staring at a juicy, tender... Okay, fine, no, I'm taking it a little too hard. You still did a great job, Tom Holland, but you should have done it more like this. See, with your eyebrows pressing. And then you get another thing that was actually screwed up at first, but it actually was kind of fixed. I don't know whether if they did go back in development and edit everything, or it might have just been the cinematic feel that sort of makes it feel different, but when I saw the trailer, the CGI was absolutely rough, but it looked way better here. Makes it feel like just the true natural Marvel we loved all the way into Endgame. I get that Marvel have had terrible working conditioning since after Endgame, but honestly, I'd rather questionable CGI than bad storytelling. And if you're speaking of screen time, I will say, a lot of the characters, while they had a little less screen time on the film compared to the rest of the movies, MJ and Ned did get quite a decent amount of screen time in this, to the point where they did feel like main characters, but not like the biggest ones you really need to heavily focus on. However, the character I feel like needed a bit more screen time was probably Bruce Banner, since he didn't bring that much to the table. I mean, you go through the evolution of all Tom Holland Spider-Man movies. You'll have Iron Man, Nick Fury, and Doctor Strange, and now this one we get Bruce Banner / Hulk, and he just didn't really bring much to the table, I guess. There wasn't much he was doing. I mean, he wasn't helping him. Yeah, as you can see, I couldn't get enough reasons out of this. I'm not going to make this into a short review, because that's why I'm going to do a little spoiler talk for this. It's because most of what's been seen in the trailers and kind of hidden from the trailers, and what we've only seen in the full movie, is a massive spoiler. So that's why I'm going to give all of you who haven't seen the movie 5 seconds to leave. Everyone's gone? Nice. Let's get on with it. Peter Parker dies! I've been wanting to say that the entire review. No, I'm just joking. He only gets hurt and wakes up in a coma. If you don't know why Jean Grey didn't get a lot of screen time in the trailers, you could definitely tell why, because she was used very well in the movie. Since she was used to actually control everyone's mind in the movie. That's why you could tell that all the other characters were actually going wild over Peter Parker. And yes, while the concept has been explained in a lot of movies, it did kind of make everything pretty predictable, but honestly, it led up to a really good chased down finale. Yelena from the Thunderbolts actually returned in this, except people keep saying she's Black Widow. Yeah, what are these Marvel characters doing? Back to the mutations of Peter Parker. Yeah, there was honestly a funny scene where his web powers, you could actually see them a lot more, since you were able to actually see them come out of his veins, literally. There was one scene where it looked like the web sort of came out as blood, like a horror movie. But I was just there for funniness, though. But then later in the movie, it was used way better, like probably the most cobweb you've seen in any Spider-Man movie. It does get pretty complex when you get to the final scene that shows Jean and Peter Parker in the memory of, oh yeah, this is complex. I don't talk about complex parts. And then the ending, it definitely strikes the landing much better, but it's not the best ending I've seen from any Spider-Man movie, but it's just a nice little one with how Peter Parker and Ned get back together as friends, almost as if they kind of remember a little handshake they used to do. And yes, this does not have a mid-credit scene, sadly, which is almost what every Marvel movie has. But luckily, it has an end credit scene, which I think is actually worth watching, but it kind of won't be like worth you waiting after the credits, because it's not really that entertaining to watch. It just shows like that Spider-Man is technically in space, ready for Avengers Doomsday, because it shows on this little map detector to show where he's supposed to be. That shows a little Spider-Man icon in like the art style of a video game arcade game. And finally, the reason why in a lot of scenes that it looks like Peter Parker is kind of just fighting everyone very normally is because to stop his mutations, he invented this little gadget that sort of stops it from happening. And overall, I didn't talk about the best aspect. This had some of the best action, probably the best action I've seen from any Spider-Man movie. And the camera work I really wanted to see in a long time, because most movies just do poor camera work, even when they are absolute bangers. I mean, I'm even surprised that some of the thumbnails from the trailers actually made it into the movie, because they kind of just looked more photoshopped, but no, they were complete moving images. And speaking of, whoa, no, I'm not ranking all of these. Call me an idiot, but I haven't seen every single Spider-Man movie. So instead, we'll just rank the Tom Holland ones. Last place, No Way Home. A boringly paced, bad ending to a movie that felt like it wasn't attached to a massive brand. Third place, Homecoming. A great introduction, but just sort of liked how he actually became Spider-Man. Second place goes to Far From Home. Most people would say this is their worst one, but honestly, I thought this was kind of dumb, but also very good. So that's why I'm placing it this high. Please don't send me. And first place, I honestly have to give it to this one, because it did everything right that I wanted from a Spider-Man movie to get my love back from. So overall, this was an absolute decent inclusion to the MCU and the Spider-Man franchise, because this is the most fun I've had with pretty much any Spider-Man movie. And even if I don't think that any Spider-Man movie has been that bad in terms of quality, I still just think he has just gone off the rails with his quantity, because there are just way too many of these movies and TV shows. Which is why, after I watch and review Beyond the Spider-Verse, I am just done with all the Spider-Man franchise. And I know that because Tom Holland's going to retire from Spider-Man after Avengers Secret Wars. Unless they make a Spider-Man 5.